Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some r/confession. Our first confession today comes to us from Cool Girl 3800. I've been stealing water bottles from Planet Fitness for months. Let's jump right in. Just as the title says, before you all judge me for my aberrant crime, please hear me out first. When I first started my fitness journey, I went on a guest pass with a friend. Back then, I knew the water bottles were $1 and I followed the rules. Eventually, I bought my own membership. The first day I went in as a full-fledged Planet Fitness member, I went to the counter with water bottle in hand as usual. The cashier tells me, "Oh, you don't have to pay. The first bottle is free for members." Now, I interpreted this as the first water bottle of the session was free. Many weightlifters like to bring their own gallon-sized water bottles, so in my humble opinion, I did not think it odd that gym-goers would down several water bottles in one workout session. So began my unintentional career as a water bottle thief. Every day I went to my local Planet Fitness, I would walk right to the fridge and pull one out for myself. I swear, there were employees that would watch me do this and not say a word. Perhaps they were too intimidated by my bold gesture to say anything. This went on for months. That is, until today. Displayed on the fridge was a sign clearly stating protein shakes and water must be brought to the counter and bought before being consumed. Apparently, my water napping habits have been so frequent and cutting into Planet Fitness's profits so much that a whole sign had to be made for my benefit. They could not say this to my face, so they went the passive-aggressive route. So not only am I guilty of killing the planet by not using a reusable water bottle, but I'm also guilty of the highest crime an American can commit, stealing a low-value item from a multi-million-dollar company. I can only hope that if there is a God, that they are forgiving of my sins and that I am not entirely irredeemable in the eyes of my fellow man. So my experience with Planet Fitness is that everybody steals the water until they either move the cooler behind the counter or post a sign and try to convince the employees they're paid enough to care. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second confession today comes to us from Few Environment 8170. I worked for a restaurant and I would steal money from the register at the end of the night whenever it was over because I was lazy. Let's jump right in. On a throwaway for reasons, I worked for an old-fashioned restaurant 5+ years ago for a few years in a position that I guess could be considered kind of unique by today's standards. I don't want to give many key details for how everything was done for that reason. I'd record all the tables, check amounts, etc. throughout the day. It was all done by hand and very unnecessarily complicated because there was this cool technology available we didn't seem to have called a computer. While still doing other normal restaurant duties, at the end of the night, I had to balance all of the cash and paperwork for the restaurant and make sure everything matched everything, pay out everyone, etc. If there was an issue or something didn't match, we were supposed to go through all of the paperwork, type thousands of different amounts into calculators, cross-check our information, find where the error occurred, and correct it. I was basically an underpaid everyone's bee or a restaurant accountant, but I actually truly did enjoy my job and my coworkers. Well, one night I was extremely exhausted and the cash balance in the register ended up being like $20 less than it should have been after paying out the bussers. I just wanted to effing go home, so I took $20 from my tips that night and put it into the register so everything matched. I don't know if I calculated their tips wrong or what. Well, after that night, since it saved me so much time, I just took from my tips and put my money in the register anytime it was under. Usually, it was just a couple dollars, and seriously not worth it to me to spend 3 hours trying to fix at 12 a.m. However, one night, many weeks later, it ended up being over by like $40 and I pocketed it. In my head, I figured I'd probably taken that much money from my own tips to put in the register over the past however long it was. I felt so guilty, but I still did it anyway. I got to go home early. I was so exhausted at the end of the night, it felt worth it to me to do at the time. I did this for years. I kinda got slightly lazy toward the end because I knew this hack and the register and paperwork didn't need to be exactly 100% right. I could forge it plus or minus a few dollars. No one would know at all. I don't know if I ended up giving more to the restaurant or taking more. I wouldn't even be able to guess how much on either side. I thought about my deed as little as possible. I never stole money to intentionally steal money, but I did, I guess, steal to pay myself back whether or not I ended up earning money. I just put it in when I needed to and took it out when I needed to so it would match. It doesn't justify it and I feel like a criminal and wanted to confess. The way the paperwork was done, there was no way they could find out. All numbers went through me, all trust was put in my hands, and they would have never expected me to have done this ever. I told one of my coworkers this hack, who actually was a really good guy with good intentions, who had the same position as me at some point. I casually forgot to mention I actually took the overbalance home with me because even though I was paying back what I had put in, I was so ashamed to have stolen. It's truly not the kind of person I view myself to be. I only put money in. He thought my whole plan was absolutely brilliant, and because I wasn't taking money, it technically wasn't morally wrong. If anything, we gave them a few dollars. He took it upon himself to, when the register was over, he would hide the extra few dollars disguised as the tips of a busser with a fake name. Smart, I know. And if the drawer was ever under, he would take from his go-home quick funds. He got caught. My supervisor found the fake busser's money. I was asked about this fake person who possibly could be owed like $40 cash. I said, I don't know. He confessed when he was questioned and was fired. He didn't say a word about me. I have told this to no one else at all until today. Now, in one of the billion jobs I've had, I managed a payday loan store for a while, and there was a lot of money in the till, and if something was off at the end of the day, whether it was over or under, it could literally take an hour and a half to figure out what happened. That being said, I can understand why OP did this, but I definitely don't condone the process. Stealing is stealing after all, no matter how you try to justify it. Our third confession today comes to us from B Has a Beard. I covered my friend in snot and didn't tell him. I probably never will. Let's jump right in. This happened back in high school around 2013, my sophomore year. I want to preface that I knew what I did was disgusting, but as you read, you will understand it was him or me. It was in world history class after winter break, and I was going through one of the biggest colds of my life. My sinuses were filled to the brim. I was constantly blowing my nose. All day, I had been walking around with a grocery bag for my used tissues, periodically emptied throughout the day, and a bunch of tissues. By the time I had made it to world history, our second to last period, I had run out of tissues. Cue the lecture. I was getting up every other minute to grab tissues, and I was irritating the teacher. Eventually, as I approached the class tissue box again, I was barked at for disturbing the lecture. I asked if I could bring the box to my desk and was told no because there were community tissues and that I could take 5 tissues and not get back up for the rest of the lecture, which had another 30 minutes. Well, I ran through my tissues quicker than I had hoped. Snot started dripping out of my nose and down my throat. I was choking. It was awful. Brandon, fake name, was a friend of mine that sat directly in front of me. The desks are so close together that the hood of his hoodie rested on my desk. A sneeze began to tickle me, and it was going to be a big one. I could feel it. I had nowhere to blast my snot cannon without being completely drenched in snot for my next class. The only way out I could think of in the span of time it takes to sneeze was in the hoodie. I sneezed, and the amount of snot that came out was horrendous. Think of Brandon's hood as a cartoon baby's soon-to-be-filled diaper. By far the best sneeze ever sneezed. My sinuses were cleared instantly, and I could breathe without issue. But the mess, oh god, the mess. The amount of green and yellow snot was enough to weigh the hoodie down so that it slid into the gap between his chair and my desk. Somehow, he didn't notice. The loud sneeze was just another of the sneezes I had boasted out that day, and everyone paid me no mind and went about the class. Soon after, the bell rang, and everyone went their separate ways. I never mentioned it to anyone. I know he eventually found out, cause how don't you eventually figure that out? I was never confronted, but I hope he didn't find out by putting his hoodie on. Sorry, Brandon. Ew, gross. If this was a friend that was sitting in front of OP and the friend didn't say anything to OP about it, I'm guessing they probably didn't know it happened. I mean, if one of my friends boogered into my hoodie, I would definitely say something about it. I might even try to wipe it back onto them once I found out. Just saying. Our fourth confession today comes to us from Sour Lime 918. I broke into one of my classmates' house in 7th grade. Let's jump right in. I can't really say this to anyone in my family, and one of my parents still lives in the same neighborhood as the kid. Normally, you shouldn't skip school as a 12-year-old. I don't recommend it, but I would normally just go to the library if I did, cause school was boring and they had free Wi-Fi. To elaborate, I'm still a minor. I don't believe I can get in much legal trouble if it's ever found out. Not too sure how Canadian law works in that regard. And well, I find it funny I did it. I do feel bad for the family. This time though, instead of heading to the library, I decided to just walk around the neighborhood. I don't live in a city. My school at the time was where every kid went, save for special needs ones, so I knew where I was the whole time. It was the middle of winter, give or take minus 20 degrees Celsius, so I was in thick clothes, gloves, a jacket, scarf, hat, etc. Honestly, that's the only reason I think I haven't been caught for it. In any case, the house was not that far away from mine, a 10-minute walk at most, but because of the weather and it being around 10 or 11 a.m., most people weren't around. I saw this kid's house, and I guess I'll call him Evan. So Evan lived in a single home while I lived in a complex. He had a hockey and basketball goal out front, a garage, the normal stuff. I think he had a little sister. I haven't seen him in a few years, I'm not too sure. I'm not sure if just because is a good excuse for what I did, but I rang on his doorbell because I was thinking of Ding Dong Ditch. After doing this 3 times to annoy his parents and no one came, I tried opening the door. I think I was just curious, but I felt an urge to see if I could get in since no one was home. After a few attempts at the door, thank God for the weather, I was gonna see if I could get through the backyard. They had a wooden gate though. However, there was a side door which led to the kitchen. When I tried it, it was unlocked, but it took a bit to open. There was a garbage can in front of it in an awkward position, but I got in. I looked around the house and there are some key things I remember being there. A tablet on the kitchen table, which was locked so I ignored it, a Wii with some games, a PS4, a jar of Hubba Bubba gum, and a bunch of board games in the living room. It was a clean house but a bit cluttered. They had some really pretty utensils, to be honest. Anyway, I went upstairs and into the parents' room. There was maybe 40 books tucked under the bed, and since I had my backpack, I took a few. The Maze Runner and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone being what I remembered most. I also found some earrings I like. Surprisingly, I still have them and wear them. Not too sure what they're worth, they were just silver hoops. In any case, they had a walk-in closet with some pretty dresses and outfits. I took 2 shirts of the mother's, stuffed them in my backpack, of course, and then went to check out the other rooms. There was a kid's room, not Evan's, which is why I said I thought he might have a sister. The kid had some stuff I liked, a wallet phone case that fit mine, which I used for around a year and a half till I got a new phone, some Lego, and 2 charging cords. In Evan's room, he had a desktop and a laptop. I remember grabbing the desktop mouse since I needed a new one, and just looking around some drawers. Weirdly, I took 2 Rubik's Cubes of all things. I do remember when I opened up the Chromebook, he hadn't logged out, and not surprisingly, adult material was open. After that, I went downstairs and just looked around the living room again. I took about 2 handfuls of that gum, and just had it the rest of my day. Since I had a PS4, still do, figured I'd take a game, which was Uncharted 4, still have that actually. I don't remember what else I took. The game was probably the most expensive. I wasn't looking to sell a bunch of stuff or steal really valuable things, just wanted to know what it would feel like. I do have a habit of taking things from convenience stores, typically chargers, earbuds, or candy. I don't recommend it and I'm trying to work on it. In any case, when I left Evan's house, I ended up leaving the door wide open. I don't know why, I thought it would be funny. Let's hope a neighbor saw it and called them, but I feel bad. Yeah, it's funny that a 12-year-old barely in middle school was able to break into their house so easily, but I probably made them scared. That and the fact that they must have been really confused on why nothing too major was gone. I don't live with the same parent as when I did this, so that's why I never seen him in a few years. Well, I just took some dumb stuff, but it was still breaking and entering and robbery. OP left an edit on the story. It says, edit, 2 things. 1, I've been informed that what I did was burglary and not robbery. So thank you to the people who clarified that for me. What I did was larceny and burglary. Second, and most important, I've been thinking of bringing this up to a therapist as I'm being referred to one by my school for other reasons. That, or just that I feel the urge to steal anything at all. As for the items, I like the idea of donating them, which from what I've been told I should be able to without a guardian figure there. If not that, then boxing the items I still have up and writing an anonymous note apologizing to the family. Well, you mentioned that you like stealing things from convenience stores and you're still a minor. You have time to get this under wraps. You need to change your ways, because once you're not a minor anymore, this is going to come crashing down on you. Let me know in the comments down below if you liked having r/confession on the KCC channel. Check out all 4 OPs linked at the description down below. Have yourself a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.